The next TMZ Live, the deadline for the Nancy Guthrie ransom is looming.
The question, will her family fork over $6 million?
When people do the most, I do the analysis. Let's go. Over the past several days, the name Nancy Guthrie has appeared across multiple news stations and independent reporting platforms, and with updates coming out at different times, the story can feel somewhat fragmented. So in this video, I want to first give you a quick rundown on the facts pertaining to this story. Nancy Guthrie has gone missing. Nancy is the 84-year-old mother of 3 adult children, including Savannah Guthrie. Savannah is a 54-year-old journalist, attorney, and broadcaster who co-anchors on the NBC News Today show and has a reported net worth of $40 million. Nancy Guthrie had dinner on a Saturday night with her daughter, Annie Guthrie, and Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni. They drove Nancy back home and were the last to be seen with her alive. Nancy Guthrie is a Christian woman who goes to church on Sundays. But the next day, Sunday, February 1st, Nancy didn't make it to church. Concerned churchgoers reached out to Nancy's family. The family drove to Nancy's home and immediately called 911. A missing person report went out that same day. Nancy is an elderly woman who wears a pacemaker, and she's also on life-saving prescription medication. Investigators quickly learned that the Ring doorbell security monitoring subscription was not paid for, and someone removed the doorbell in the wee hours of Sunday morning. That meant there's no footage showing anyone other than Nancy entering the home. We later learned that Nancy Guthrie was in fact abducted, and there's a ransom note requesting $6 million in cryptocurrency, bitcoins to be exact. The Guthrie family, Nancy's adult children, made videos pleading for Nancy's release and promised to pay the ransom in exchange for Nancy's safe return. Nancy Guthrie is still missing, the ransom has not been paid, and no proof of life was ever provided by the abductors. Now that's the Cliff Notes version, so let's get into more of the detail. I want to walk y'all through the Nancy Guthrie story in clear chronological order, using news reports and verified bloggers, so we can understand what's been reported and also where things currently stand. Investigators say that 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her Tucson, Arizona home in the early morning hours of Sunday, February 1st. On Saturday, January 31st, Nancy Guthrie returned to her home in Catalina Foothills after having dinner with her family. Her garage door closes at 9:50 p.m. Now let's move on to the next day, Sunday, February 1st. That's when everything pretty much took place. At 1:47 a.m., the Ring doorbell camera at Nancy Guthrie's home is disconnected, and investigators do not have the device. At 2:12 a.m., the camera software detects a person at the house, but due to the lack of subscription to that monitoring service, there is no actual video available for that activity. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnects from her cell phone. Later that same morning at 11:56 a.m., Nancy's family members are alerted that she did not attend church service. Nancy Guthrie was reported missing that same day on Sunday, February 1st at 12:03 in the afternoon. At 12:15 p.m., deputies arrived and began a missing person search and rescue effort. Nancy Guthrie's disappearance triggered a multi-agency search that now includes multiple states and also the FBI. On February 1st and 2nd, authorities conducted an extensive ground and aerial search using dogs, drones, helicopters, and infrared technology. They also checked hospitals repeatedly, but to no avail. Investigators then reached a conclusion that Nancy didn't leave the house on her own. There were signs of a struggle, and bloodstains were found on Nancy's property. The first reports about Nancy Guthrie surfaced on Tuesday, February 3rd, when news outlets reported that the mother of NBC News anchor Savannah Guthrie had been abducted.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining the program. Randy, I'll start with you. Based on what we heard from the press conference, it seems like, in law enforcement terms, that the sheriff was hinting at there may have been foul play based on the evidence that he's seen so far. What you make of that?
Yeah, I watched the press conference, and he was using terms that he was trying to dance around it. But eventually, the terms that he used were very telling. He talked about processing the scene. He talked about having homicide out there, and eventually he did say the words abduction. He did say that she was taken with basically by force. This
At that time, information was limited, so coverage mainly focused on the fact that Nancy Guthrie was last seen with her family on January 31st, didn't show up to church the next day, and that foul play is suspected. Beyond that, not a lot of details had been officially released. By Tuesday, February 3rd, new details began to emerge, and multiple news outlets reported that the case is being investigated as a criminal abduction, that evidence from the home is being processed and submitted for DNA testing, and that a public tip line and a QR code are launched, which added important context to the original reports.
The way the ransom note is worded, that they say we will bring your mother back to Tucson. We will bring her back to Tucson within 12 hours of the time that we receive the money.
Have you shown it to Savannah Guthrie and the Guthrie family?
The family is aware of it. I know that.
When were they made aware of it?
I believe that was last night.
So they were made aware of it last night before it became public through TMZ?
Oh, absolutely. We're not. Well, I don't know how TMZ got it. So that's a concern too.
This update clarified that this is not just another one of those elderly women who possibly wandered away from home. No, Nancy was playing a game of mahjong with her family right before she went missing. And that matters because it speaks to her mental clarity right before she went missing. She was not confused or mentally challenged.
For an 84-year-old woman to disappear from her home is extremely troubling, and now this is a real criminal investigation that is going to require all the resources of that county sheriff's department, as well as clearly the FBI.
We know that they have her cell phone, and the FBI's cellular analysis survey team is the group that would go through that. We also know that her wallet and purse and those kind of items that somebody would have taken with them if she had gone out. Look, we know two things, as Randy pointed out. We know that the sheriff is suggesting foul play was around, and also that she had sound mind. Many people 84 years old can wander out of their house. 600,000 people go missing every year. Most of them are rapidly relocated. But in this instance, this is odd.
This also raises concern about who's responsible for Nancy's disappearance, and is this an inside job? Because who else would know that there were no cameras inside Nancy's home, and that the monitoring service subscription had either lapsed or was never purchased? On Wednesday, February 4th, official statements were released by KGUN 9 in Tucson, Arizona, who reported that they received ransom letters demanding payment in cryptocurrency. CNN affiliate KOLD, as well as TMZ, also received ransom notes from the captors. Sheriff's officials acknowledged that they were reviewing the ransom notes for clues and authenticity. And DNA found at the home of Nancy Guthrie, reportedly from blood found on the front porch, is confirmed to belong to Nancy Guthrie. These statements address that what we're dealing with is an actual abduction, but they stop short of confirming that any suspect or persons of interest were identified.
I know there's been a lot out there about suspects, and I want to be very clear. At this time, we have not identified a suspect or a person of interest in this case. We are working our best to do that. But to be clear, we have nobody of interest or any suspects that you would consider a prime suspect. We're not there yet.
We did learn that Nancy Guthrie is on medication that she needs to take daily for her survival. The FBI confirmed that they're assisting with the investigation. At that stage, all anybody was really being told is that the investigation is ongoing, no charges have been filed, and the legal process is still unfolding. On February 5th, as news coverage continued, independent journalists and bloggers started examining patterns, time inconsistencies, public response, and broader implications of an inside job. Official reports from authorities include Sheriff Nano saying that investigators are hopeful that Nancy Guthrie is alive and that there is a ransom note with a 5 p.m. deadline on February 5th.
Sheriff, do you believe that one or more than one person was involved in the kidnapping?
Just no clue. It could have been one, it could have been more.
Sheriff, is there any indication that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? We know the medication played a critical role here. It's been 48 hours. She needs it every single day. Are you looking for someone that is still alive?
We hope we are. We hope we are.
Sheriff Nano said earlier that you don't believe there's a wider threat to the public. If you're not sure if it's targeted, why do you believe there's no wider threat to the public?
Well, we have crime in Tucson all the time, right? Like any city. And so there, when you say a threat to the public, is there somebody out there who's kidnapping elderly people in the middle of the night every night? We've not heard that. We don't believe that's the case.
He confirms that the blood found on the porch belongs to Nancy. The FBI expanded its involvement, bringing in federal agents, analysts, digital forensic teams, and crisis negotiators. The FBI announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to Guthrie's recovery or arrest in the case. On Friday, February 6th, the first ransom deadline passes without any direct contact made with the family. Authorities say no suspects or persons of interest have been identified, but Sheriff Nano says investigators are currently looking at everybody.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
On Saturday, February 7th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and FBI confirmed receipt of a new message related to the case, and it's being reviewed for authenticity. The message was sent to Tucson station KOLD, who reports actually receiving the message, and they turned it over to law enforcement. A second ransom deadline of Monday, February 9th was established. The abductors demanded payment in Bitcoin and provided two separate deadlines, one warning that they wanted $4 million by 5 p.m. local time on Thursday, February 5th, then another one saying that if they missed the deadline, they would need to send $6 million by the same time on February 9th, or else. On Sunday, February 8th, Nancy Guthrie's adult children released a video saying they will pay ransom for their mother's return. This video is in response to receiving the message that they believed to be from the abductors.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
The most recent update, reported on Monday, February 9th, confirms that the second deadline date for the ransom has also passed. CNN and Tucson's KGUN report that the ransom note sent to KGUN demands $6 million by 5 p.m. on February 9th, and it also includes a threat on Nancy Guthrie's life. To summarize where the story currently stands, sheriff officials are saying there are no suspects, no persons of interest, and no vehicles that have been identified in this case. A security presence remains at the Guthrie's home at the family's request, and the ransom note appears to be authentic and the cryptocurrency address is valid. Anything beyond that is either speculation or it hasn't yet been verified, at least not publicly, through official reporting. We now have a breaking news update that just came in. An image of a person of interest in connection with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance has been released as the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie continues into its 10th day. The FBI released an image this morning February 10th, showing a person wearing a mask and gloves captured on a surveillance camera outside of Guthrie's Catalina Foothills home, which we now know to be a Nest camera, not Ring. As with any developing story, details can change. This timeline reflects what's been publicly reported and confirmed so far. As new information becomes available, I'll update this story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and leave a comment down below letting me know your thoughts about this story. Then meet me in the comments. We can continue the conversation there.